Welcome back again. I'm Joel O'Loughlin, Managing Director of My Zambia, My Africa, and you're watching AILTV Perspectives. My Zambia, My Africa is a branding company. So as you can imagine, we're never happier than when we have an opportunity to speak to people who are responsible for the media. And the man who's responsible for the government media in Zambia is Mr Sunday Chanda. And we had a great opportunity to share some of our ideas with him. And as you will hear, he had a clear vision about where he'd like to see Zambia.
My name is Sunday Chanda, Media Director for the ruling Patriotic Front. One of the things that we're doing, of course, is to make sure that we move away from sensational reporting, mere rhetoric. We would want our media strategy to be so focused around the development, ensure that that becomes a major thrust, communicating what we're doing, ensuring that the citizenry could keep track of the accomplishments that we're making vis-a-vis the promises that we made to the Zambian people in our election manifesto. That becomes very, very important for us. So we avoid the temptation of communicating empty promises. We have a manifesto that is full of rich promises, and it is this manifesto and the translation of the promises into tangible programs of action, tangible projects that the people of Zambia can see, touch and feel, that we keep reminding the Zambian people, and also as a way of giving progress reports to the Zambian people as key stakeholders of this government, of the Patriotic Front in government. We know for a fact that if there's any sort of media that is influencing discourse, it's social media. And whether we talk about development communication or want to talk about elections, want to talk about campaigns, future elections, future campaigns, one cannot plan around those key events away from social media. For the Patriotic Front, investing in social media becomes very, very important, and that is the heartbeat of our communication strategy, building towards 2021 and post-2021. That will be very, very important. One of the key fundamentals to the Zambian conversation is the fact that there's a lot of policy consistency. That becomes very, very important. That what a would-be investor would look at today in terms of policy for the Zambian government, they would be assured that that is going to be policy for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years. So policy consistency becomes very, very important for us in terms of marketing our country. One of the things, again, is diversifying the economy from being copper-driven to an economy that is driven by other engines in the economy, agriculture, etc., tourism. That becomes very important, and there again, therein lies a lot of opportunities for any would-be investor to tap into. Of course, one needs to exploit Zambia's geographical positioning. When we went to primary school, we were told that Zambia was a landlocked country. And over the years, the conversation is that we're no longer landlocked, we're land-linked. We're at the center of 8 countries. That provides a huge market for any investor. And Zambia is right at the hub of Southern Africa. That if anybody wants to do investment in Africa, in Southern Africa, they have no better place to look at than Zambia. Being in Zambia gives them a strategic positioning to get into 8 neighboring countries by road, by air. That becomes so easy to do. And we think that in that regard, we have a government that is investing heavily in infrastructure development for the sole purpose of, firstly, ensuring that the country is interlinked by road, by rail, by air, and by water, where water bodies do exist. But to ensure that if anyone is moving a product from down south, up north, east, west, They will have no option. If their goods are moving by road or by rail, their goods would definitely have to pass through Zambia, because we're right at the center of the region, of the continent. So in terms of investment, Zambia becomes one of those countries that the world must watch out for, as an emerging or potentially emerging economic hub for Southern Africa. And that is the thrust of the Patriotic Front government, that can we market Zambia to the outside world? Can we tell the Zambian story that you can come to Zambia, but you're not just talking about the Zambian market, you'll be talking about a regional market. So you're not just looking at the demographics as in the Zambian demographics, you'll be looking at demographics that, for 9 countries, Zambia inclusive. We think that celebrities connected to Zambia, and especially those in the diaspora, must take a leaf from what other celebrities are doing, especially with countries that they have a connection with. That if you cannot give back to your country, as in the words of John F. Kennedy, you ask, don't ask what the country will do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Some of them may not be in Zambia. They're in different countries, different locations around the world. But the fact that they would have a certain connection with Zambia should say to them that for one reason or another, they must do something for Zambia, whether for the economic benefit of it or for purposes of paying back, for lack of a better term. We've seen this, with different celebrities who've taken it upon themselves to say country first, and that I'm going to ensure that my country is put on the map of the world. And of course, there are also local celebrities, and some of them are in Zambia, others are not in Zambia. We've got a legend, Kalusha Walia, who's a soccer icon, not just for Zambia, but for the continent and the world, who takes pride in marketing Zambia and the Zambian brand. And we hope that other icons would take on the same spirit and enthusiasm as Kalusha Walia has done. We've got celebrated economists, Dambisa Moyo, doing a great job and doing great works, serious publications, speaking in important forums, etc. We're grateful that she would still identify herself with her Zambian connection, and would still reach out to as many of those Zambians as possible and ask them to come on board and say, hey, why don't you do ABCD for your country, and why don't you help market Zambia? You don't need to tell the political story. There are many stories to tell about Zambia. You can tell the tourism story, you can tell the agricultural story, you can tell the economic story. If you don't want to be non-aligned, non-partisan, that's okay, but you can pick what kind of story you want to tell to the world and run with it. But for as long as we're doing it for Mother Zambia, that brings a lot of pride to a country of one's heritage. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it.